I'm Chris Sanchez, and welcome to Sonoma Views, where we talk property management, real estate, restaurant reviews, what's going on in Sonoma County, and everything in between. Thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. Today's topic is I want to talk about, under the property management category, how to get rid of tenants, how to terminate the tenancy. I just left a business luncheon right now, and I met a gentleman who works at a bank, and he told me that he has 2 rental properties himself, and he's a individual landlord. So, which things are going fine, but he was telling me one of the concerns, and they're very valid concerns, is what happens if I have to get my tenants out? What if they stop paying rent and I get stuck holding 2 mortgages? Basically his own house, his own residence, plus 1 vacancy, and they pay for themselves, so they're making money, the investments are, but it's that fear at the back of his mind where, what if the tenant just bails and doesn't pay rent? What if we give them a notice to move out and they don't move out and they don't pay? What happens then? What's the process? How do we get them out? And very valid, natural concerns, and he doesn't really understand or know the process because he hasn't had to deal with it yet, which is good. The bright side is that he has not had an eviction, so that's plus right there. So I tell him it comes down to your paperwork, the rental agreement that you have in place. Now, he did tell me that he runs month-to-month rental agreements, which is great for that purpose in the event that you want to move somebody out. Now, I'm in Sonoma County, California. These are California laws, but your individual city or county may have overlapping ordinances on how you could get somebody out or how you cannot get somebody out. San Francisco, as an example, is a heavy rent control city, so it's very difficult for landlords to get tenants out. They're a more tenant-friendly city than they are landlord-friendly. In Santa Rosa, it's been a push for rent control and a just cause eviction, which means that in order to get somebody out, you have to have a really good, justifiable cause to move out a tenant. You may have to go to court and get court approval to move out a tenant. So you really have to have good, solid paperwork and good reasons for getting somebody out in the near future, as I see it. But currently, today, we're in March 2019, under a month-to-month rental agreement in my local area, we do not have to give the tenants a reason why we want them out, why we want the property vacant. You just have to properly serve them the right notice, and give them enough time to move out. I don't want this to go on. I want to make this a brief video, but the answer is, if a tenant is under a month-to-month agreement, or they're coming up on their 1-year lease, and they have lived in the rental unit less than 1 year, currently we have to give them a 30-day notice minimum. 30-day notice to vacate, 30-day notice of termination of the tenancy, or 30-day notice that you are not renewing the lease agreement, the lease term, if they have lived there less than 1 year. If they have lived there more than 1 year, my rule is 1 year or longer. And just to be on the safe side, I give at minimum a 60-day notice to move out. So the legal requirement is 60 days, and I do minimum 60-day notice. Sometimes I do 90-day notices as a courtesy with good quality long-term tenants. Sometimes it's not their fault why we need them out, but sometimes I give more time, or I'll give them until the end of the month rather than having them move out on the 20th or 25th. As an example, I would give them more than the legally required time. And again, this is assuming that the end of their lease term is coming up, or they are under month-to-month rental agreement. So today, we do not need to give any reason whatsoever, as long as the paperwork is fine, and as long as the property is in good, livable condition, with no health hazards, code violations, etc. If the owner, the landlord, is being a slumlord and the property it's covered with mold and it doesn't have a heater and plumbing's not working, and that's just no. The tenant could stay there until those things are fixed. So the tenant could push back and say, "Screw you," get the city involved, get the county involved, whatever. But so that's when it becomes tough to move out a tenant if the property is not up to minimum living standards. Okay, so that's when it makes it tough. Now, if it is a Section 8 tenant, somebody on a housing voucher for a local housing agency, housing authority, if they're on that program, it's actually 90 days, no matter what. So just look at what the local requirements are for your area and determine how much notice you need to give them. Serve the notice properly. Ideally, it's served in person, meaning that you deliver the right notice in writing and deliver it in person. Because if you do not give them the legal notice properly, and 2 months go by and you're trying to get the tenant out and they don't move out, and then you end up going to court, if your paperwork is not set up properly, it can be thrown out. So I gotta run now. It's Chris Sanchez. Thank you for watching Sonoma Views. Talk to you soon.